Two women sat across from a financial planner on the same Tuesday morning. Both were 58 years old. Both had earned similar incomes their entire careers. The first woman had $780,000 in retirement accounts, a paid-off house, and zero debt. She was planning early retirement at 60. She talked about traveling to Portugal, helping her grandchildren with college, and volunteering 3 days a week. Her voice was calm. Her shoulders were relaxed. The second woman had $95,000 saved, $140,000 still owed on her mortgage, and $23,000 in credit card debt. She was terrified of turning 65. She asked how long she'd need to keep working. She asked if she could afford her medications. She asked what would happen if her car broke down. Every question carried fear. Same careers, same income, same city. One will spend retirement traveling and spoiling grandchildren. The other will spend it counting every dollar and dreading every bill. The divergence didn't start in their 20 seconds or 30 seconds. It didn't happen in their 40 seconds when both families were still building. It started entirely in their 50 seconds. That single decade made all the difference. And most people don't realize how much power the 50s carry until the decade is already behind them. Your 50s are the last decade where your financial decisions carry enough time to compound into meaningful results. After 60, the math stops being forgiving. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why this decade matters more than any other, and the specific moves that separate comfortable retirees from stressed ones. These aren't vague suggestions. These are the concrete, dollar-specific decisions that financial planners see making the difference every single day. Let me start with the math, because the math is what makes the 50s so uniquely powerful. Three forces collide in this decade that don't align anywhere else in your life. Force 1. Peak lifetime earnings. For most professionals, income reaches its absolute maximum between 50 and 57. You have more raw earning power right now than you've ever had, and more than you'll likely ever have again. This is the summit, the highest point on the income mountain. The raises that felt significant in your 30s are behind you, but the absolute dollar amounts are the highest they've ever been. This is your maximum fuel. Force 2. Reduced expenses. By your 50s, the financial obligations that consumed your 30s and 40s have shrunk or disappeared entirely. The kids are leaving home. Daycare and tuition bills are ending. The house you stretched to buy now fits comfortably in your budget. Monthly obligations are at their lowest point in decades. This creates a gap between what you earn and what you need that hasn't existed since before you had a family. The question is, what you do with that gap. Force 3. Catch-up contributions. The IRS allows people over 50 to contribute significantly more to retirement accounts. In 2026, you can put $23,500 into your 401k, plus an extra $7,500 in catch-up contributions. That's $31,000 per year sheltered from taxes. Your IRA allows $7,000 plus a $1,000 catch-up for a total of $8,000. An HSA adds another $4,150 if you're on a high-deductible health plan. A couple, both maxing out, can shelter over $70,000 annually from taxes while building retirement wealth. This level of tax advantage saving is only possible after 50. These three forces create a window that didn't exist in your 40s and won't exist in your 60s. Your 50s sit at the perfect intersection. The person who captures this alignment builds substantial wealth in a single decade. The person who misses it faces a retirement defined by constraint. Let me show you the real numbers. Someone who enters their 50s with $250,000 saved and starts maximizing contributions can reach very different outcomes. Scenario 1. They contribute $31,000 per year for 15 years at an 8% average return. By 65, they've accumulated approximately $1.35 million. That $1.35 million, following the 4% withdrawal rule, generates roughly $54,000 per year in retirement income. Combined with Social Security, that's a comfortable life. Scenario 2. Same person, same starting point, but they only contribute $10,000 per year because the rest went to lifestyle upgrades. By 65, they have approximately $680,000. That $680,000 generates about $27,000 per year using the same 4% rule. Combined with Social Security, that's survivable but tight. Every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. Same person, same job, same starting savings. The only difference was how aggressively they used their $670,000 in lost wealth from a single decade of choices. Scenario 3 is the one nobody wants to think about. Same person, same $250,000 at 50, but instead of increasing contributions, they actually decrease them to fund a lifestyle upgrade. They drop to $5,000 per year. The kitchen renovation, bigger house payment, and luxury SUV absorb the rest. By 65, they accumulate just $540,000. $540,000 generates only $21,600 per year at the 4% rule. Combined with Social Security, every single month becomes a math problem. Every unexpected bill triggers anxiety. 3 scenarios. Same person, same starting savings, same career. The only variable was what happened between age 50 and 65. The divergence is $810,000 from one decade of choices. That decade gap cannot be closed in your 60s. The compounding window has shut. The catch-up math doesn't work when you're trying to catch up in the final stretch. Now, let me walk you through the 6 specific decisions that matter most. These aren't opinions. These are the patterns that financial planners see separating outcomes every single week. Decision 1. Aggressively eliminate all remaining debt before retirement. This is the foundation. Nothing else works properly until this is done. In your working years, debt is manageable because active income covers the payments. There's always another paycheck arriving. In retirement, that conveyor belt stops. Income becomes fixed. Social Security and investment withdrawals don't grow, but debt payments remain the same or increase. A $1,200 monthly mortgage payment that felt manageable on a $7,000 paycheck becomes devastating on a $3,500 Social Security check. That same pattern applies to car payments, credit cards, and personal loans. Every dollar committed to debt service in retirement is a dollar stolen from living. The people who retire most comfortably almost always share one trait. They enter retirement with zero debt, no mortgage, no car payment, no credit card balances, nothing. Your 50s are the decade to make this happen. If you still carry a mortgage, calculate what it takes to pay it off before retirement. Accelerate aggressively. If you carry credit card debt in your 50s, treat it like a 4-alarm emergency. The interest rates are compounding against you at the worst possible time. Decision 2. Maximize retirement account contributions immediately. Not next year, not when you get a raise. Starting right now, this month, a dollar invested at 50 has 15 years to grow. At 8% returns, that dollar becomes approximately $3.17 by 65. That's the power of time still working for you. Wait until 55, and that same dollar only becomes $2.16. Wait until 58, and it barely reaches $1.59. Each year of delay in your 50S costs roughly a third of your growth. That means 5 years of delay doesn't just cost you 5 years. It costs you decades of compounding that those 5 years would have generated. If your employer offers a 401k match, not maxing it is leaving free money on the table. In your 50S, free money is retirement money you can't afford to waste. If you're behind on savings entering your 50S, the catch-up contribution exists specifically for you. This is the government giving you a lifeline. Use every dollar of it. Decision 3. Have an honest retirement projection done. Not a guess, not a hope, an actual calculation based on your savings, contribution rate, and expected expenses. Most people in their 50S have never calculated what they actually need to retire. They carry a vague feeling that it'll somehow work out. It usually doesn't work out without a plan. The couple sitting in financial planners' offices at 63 with panic in their eyes all have one thing in common. They never ran the numbers. The standard guideline suggests you need 25 times your annual retirement expenses saved. If you plan to spend $60,000 per year, your target is $1.5 million. If you plan to spend $40,000, your target is $1 million. If $80,000, you need $2 million. This scales linearly. The math doesn't care about your feelings. This number is your North Star for the decade. Every financial decision in your 50S should be evaluated against whether it moves you closer to or further from this target. Knowing your number at 50 gives you a decade to close the gap. Knowing it at 63 gives you panic and almost no options. Decision 4. Seriously evaluate whether your lifestyle can survive on retirement income. Most people's spending doesn't magically decrease when the paycheck stops. People assume retirement means lower expenses. Some costs drop, commuting costs disappear, work clothes aren't needed, lunches out decrease, but other costs increase dramatically. Healthcare costs rise. You're home more, so utility bills increase. Boredom spending often replaces work spending. Travel costs appear. The average retired couple will spend approximately $315,000 on healthcare costs alone throughout retirement. That's not fully covered by Medicare. Medicare doesn't cover dental, vision, most hearing aids, or long-term care. The gaps are enormous, and most people don't discover them until they're already retired. Your 50S are the decade to practice living on your projected retirement income. Try it for 3 months. Live on 70% of your current income and see what happens. If you can't sustain that, you have 2 options. Reduce lifestyle expectations now while you have time to adjust, or save more aggressively to fund the life you want. The worst option is the one most people choose. Change nothing and hope it works. It doesn't. Decision 5. Delay Social Security if you possibly can. This single decision can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Every year you delay past 62 increases your monthly benefit by approximately 7 to 8%. That's a guaranteed return no investment can match. Someone eligible for $2,000 per month at 62 would receive approximately $2,640 at 67 and $3,520 at 70. That's 76% more income for life. That extra $1,520 per month over a 2-5-year retirement equals approximately $456,000 in additional lifetime income from one single decision: delay. But delaying requires a bridge. You need savings to live on between your retirement date and when you start collecting Social Security. The people who claim at 62 almost always do so because they haven't built that bridge. Their 50s decisions forced their 60s hand. Don't let that be you. Decision 6. Protect your health like the financial asset it is. In your 50s, a health crisis doesn't just threaten your body, it threatens your entire financial plan. A major health event in your late 50s can force early retirement, eliminate years of peak earning, drain savings on medical bills, and lock you into the lowest Social Security benefit. The financial damage of a heart attack at 56 isn't just the medical bills. It's the 3 years of peak earnings lost, the retirement contributions that stopped, the early claim penalty. Every dollar you spend on preventive health care is an investment. The gym membership, the annual physical, the better diet, the stress management. These aren't expenses. They're the highest return investments available to someone in their 50s. A healthy decade of peak earnings is worth more than any stock pick. Let me tell you about Linda and Karen. They illustrate exactly how the 50s create two completely different retirements from nearly identical starting points. Linda entered her 50s with $310,000 saved, a $140,000 mortgage, and a combined household income of $145,000. Good, but not exceptional. Karen entered with $285,000 saved, a $155,000 mortgage, and similar income. The two women were financially almost identical at 50. The moment Linda's last child graduated college, she and her husband made a radical decision. They would live on one income and direct the second entirely toward financial freedom. It wasn't easy. They drove older cars. They skipped the kitchen renovation their friends were doing. They took camping vacations instead of cruises. By 53, their mortgage was completely paid off. By 55, every debt was at zero. From 55 to 60, every free dollar poured into maxed-out retirement accounts. Linda retired at 61 with $1.1 million in savings, zero debt, and a bridge strategy, letting her delay Social Security until 67. Her monthly retirement income from investments and Social Security totals approximately $5,800. She lives comfortably, travels twice a year, and never worries about money. When her water heater broke last year, she replaced it without checking her bank balance. When her granddaughter needed help with a deposit on an apartment, Linda wrote the check happily. That's what financial security in retirement actually looks like. It's not yachts and mansions. It's the absence of fear when life sends you a surprise. Karen made different choices. When her kids left, she and her husband celebrated by upgrading their house. They moved to a $575,000 property in a nicer neighborhood. The new house added $1,800 per month to their costs. That $1,800 per month over 10 years is $216,000 money that could have been retirement savings, earning compound returns. Karen also upgraded cars, took luxury vacations, and renovated. Every raise went to lifestyle. Her retirement contributions stayed at 6% for the entire decade. At 62, Karen checked her retirement accounts. $340,000. After 12 years, her savings had grown by only $55,000. She needed 4 times that. The retirement projection showed she'd run out of money by 79. She'd need to work until at least 67. She claimed Social Security at 62 because she couldn't afford to wait. Her monthly retirement income from Social Security and minimal withdrawals totals $3,100. She budgets every grocery trip. She hasn't traveled since she stopped working. When her car needed $1,800 in repairs last spring, she put it on a credit card. At 68 years old, she's accumulating new debt in retirement. The cycle she should have broken in her 50s followed her. Linda's monthly retirement income, $5,800. Karen's, $3,100. Same careers, same city, same starting position. At 50, the 50S created a $2,700 per month gap that lasts forever. Over a 25-year retirement, that $2,700 monthly gap equals $810,000 in total retirement income difference. From one decade of different choices, let me address the elephant in the room. If you're in your 50s and haven't saved much, the temptation is to feel like it's too late. I need you to hear this clearly. It's not. It's not ideal. You'll need to be more aggressive than someone who started earlier. But aggressive action in your 50s still produces life-changing results. Someone who saves $2,000 per month, starting at 50, will accumulate approximately $580,000 by 65 at 8% average returns, starting from nothing. $580,000, combined with Social Security and a paid-off house, creates a stable retirement, not extravagant, but dignified, secure, free from anxiety. If $2,000 per month feels impossible, start with $1,000. That still reaches approximately $310,000 by 65. It still transforms your retirement from desperate to manageable. And $1,000 per month is $250 per week. That's the cost of eating out less, canceling unused subscriptions, and driving your current car for 2 more years instead of upgrading. The sacrifices feel small in the moment. A packed lunch instead of a restaurant, a staycation instead of a resort, an older car instead of a new lease. Individually, each one is barely noticeable, but compounded over a decade, those small choices become the difference between security and stress, between freedom and fear, between choosing when to retire and being told when to stop. The person who starts at 50 with nothing and saves aggressively will retire better than the person who saved casually in their 40s and coasted through their 50s. Your 50s reward intensity. They punish complacency. The people who coast through this decade don't get a do-over. This is it. Here's what I want you to do this week if you're in your 50s. Calculate your retirement number, annual expenses, times 25. Write it down. Compare that number to your current savings. The gap is your mission for this decade. Not a wish, not a someday project. A mission with a deadline. Max out every tax-advantaged account available to you. Use the catch-up contributions. Set up automatic escalation so your contribution rate increases every year. Eliminate every debt before retirement. Create a payoff timeline that ends at least 2 years before your target retirement date. Build margin into the plan. Run a Social Security optimization analysis. Understand your benefits at 62, 67, and 70. Build a bridge strategy to delay as long as possible. Get serious about healthcare planning. Understand what Medicare covers and what it doesn't. Budget for the $315,000 gap. Don't let it surprise you. Have the retirement conversation with your partner. When will you retire? Where will you live? How much will you spend? Alignment prevents crisis, and protect your health like your financial future depends on it. Because it does. A healthy decade of peak earnings is your most valuable asset. That first woman in the financial planner's office, the one with $780,000 in zero debt, she didn't have a higher income. She didn't inherit money. She didn't get lucky. She made 6 decisions in her 50s that the second woman didn't. Eliminated debt, maximized contributions, knew her number, tested her budget, delayed Social Security, protected her health. None of them required genius. All of them required intention during the decade that matters most. Intention is the only thing separating their outcomes. Your 50s will end. The decade will pass whether you act deliberately or drift through on autopilot. The only question is which version of your 70-year-old self you're creating right now. One who looks back with gratitude for the sacrifices they made, or one who looks back with regret at the decade they spent on comfort instead of freedom. Your 50s decide everything. That's not a burden, that's a gift. Because right now, the choice is still yours to make.